Hi, I'm Janine Sansosti, Director of SST8, and I'm here today to walk you through some helpful hints and tips for successfully uploading your documents during the indicator review process. There are some simple things you can do to ensure that ODE receives everything on the first upload and without a lot of back and forth requests and clarifications. Also, ODE has been working on some fixes to some problems that they identified in the system last year during their review, and they've shared with us some really helpful workarounds for common glitches and hiccups in the system. First, just want to kind of take you through some basic hints and tips for submitting records. First, you want to make sure that records that you submit for investigation have all required sections. So, for example, if you're submitting an ETR, that ETR needs to have a planning form, the consent form. It needs to have the referral form, the invitation for the parents, PRO1s, signature pages, all of those pieces and parts that add up to being an ETR or whatever record you're submitting. Relatedly, you want to make sure that those records are the signed version of those records. Again, when they're reviewing these records, they are reviewing for compliance using the typical record review indicators that we've learned through internal monitoring. And so it's very important to be able to demonstrate that parents participated, that records were in fact signed. So you got to send those particular versions. When you submit records, there is a document that you will complete to identify which student by that student ID corresponds with which record. So who is record one, who is record two? So when you upload those records, it's really important to make sure that all parts of that record are labeled record one, record two, et cetera. So again, for that ETR, you don't necessarily have to put it on every page, but if you have separate pieces and parts that are all part of that record, make sure that they're labeled record one so it's clear that they all go together. And then finally, be thinking again about ODE reviewing this from a compliance perspective, wanting to make sure that all the required components of the evaluation, the IEP, and all of those documents were completed. And so if there's anything that went kind of awry in that particular case, you need to upload the documentation to explain why. So for example, if the parent did not attend the IEP meeting and did not sign the IEP, on an annual review, you would want to make sure to upload supporting documentation showing your attempts to contact that parent and to involve them in the IEP process. Some other general submission tips. There's a couple different places that you will submit things, and we'll talk in just a minute about how you know what goes where. But what ODE wants you all to know, just for your own peace of mind, is that you don't need to let them know multiple ways. So anything that goes to the profile mailbox, including something that has a submit button, which I'll show you in just a minute. If you click that submit button within the document, you don't need to send a separate email saying, hey, I just uploaded this. They are monitoring the mailbox. When you hit submit, it will be sent to the profile mailbox and they will know. So you don't need to send a follow-up, just FYI that you sent it. They know. And relatedly, if you click that submit button, you also don't need to then email the document to them another way. If the document does not have a submit button, then you need to send it another way. And I'll tell you in just a minute how you'll know that that's the case. But just so everyone knows what we mean by the submit button, some documents have this little button right here. And when you click submit, it will go to the profile email address that OEC has set up to receive these documents. So if you see this button, just click that button and have faith and trust that it has been uploaded. Trust us, trust them. Okay, we're going to skip this one. We'll come back to that in a minute. So where do the submissions go and how do you know? There's two ways to figure out where things need to go. As you already know, in the OHID system, in special education profiles and ratings, that's where your special education profile is, and that's where all the required actions are for completing this process. And it will tell you in there exactly where you need to upload each piece and part. But we want to show you something new. So this is option one, but option two, something new that ODE has done this year, is that they have made a manual for each of the particular indicators that may have non-compliance findings where you would need to go through this process. So For example, if you have a disproportionality in identification finding, that would be either indicator 9 or 10. There's a specific manual that will guide you through that entire process. And it concludes with this incredibly helpful table that says, specific to this indicator that you have a finding, what exactly do you need to do when? Here's what you need to upload, and here's where it goes. And you can see that you may be sending something to the profile mailbox, like I just talked about, or you may be using the secure document upload by clicking on that link, or you may be using the monitoring system, which I'll talk about in just a minute. So this table is really a nice addition that ODE has done to answer a lot of the questions about what goes where. So if something goes in the monitoring system, you don't also need to send an email to the profile mailbox. They're monitoring that system, they're monitoring the mailbox, they will get all those notifications. Okay, so where is this monitoring system that I'm referring to? Well, it's also in OHID. So for both the one that I just showed you for special ed profile and ratings and this one here, you need your district or community schools OEDS administrator to give you access if you don't have this. But whenever it says that you need to upload something through monitoring system, this is the app or the tile that you will need to have access to. So we recommend that you go ahead and take a look now and make sure that you have access to everything that you need. And if not, start making those requests of your OEDS administrator so that you have it when you need it. All right, some other tips related to the secure document upload. There are a couple glitches that were discovered last year that, while unfortunately can't necessarily be fully fixed, there have been some helpful workarounds to figure out how to get past these issues. So one of the issues in terms of experiencing problems has been not using the correct web browser. So you want to make sure that you're using either Edge or Chrome. I don't know why, but for some reason, clearing your browsing history seems to help if you experience an error. And this is a really strange one, but we really appreciated ODE telling us this. For some reason, if you upload a document and you provide an email address that is too long, the system will not like that. And so, although this is a strange fix, if you have a long email address and you keep finding an error, see if you can find someone else on your team that has a shorter email address that you can substitute, and you probably will be able to clear that error. We're not sure why that is, but that's a helpful workaround. And then this final bullet here just notes that it's important to ensure that uploads are completed under a full IRN and district name. If they're not, it's possible that ODE will not be able to search for and find the records. So for example, not calling anybody out, this is just an example that will make a lot of sense. Cleveland Heights University Heights in Region 3 often goes by CHUH, but if you type that district name, ODE may not be able to find it. So make sure you use the entire district name, no abbreviations or acronyms, and a full IRN. Okay. Related to the monitoring system, just something to note, the monitoring system will open in early 2022. So for indicators 9 and 10, they are going to have a really quick turnaround to upload some records to be investigated, some ETRs and associated records. And the monitoring system will not be open at that point. But again, if you go back to that table or the special ed profile and look to see what needs to go where, that's not where that needs to go. So don't panic if you can't get into the monitoring system right away. It's not going to open just yet, but it will be open when you need it. Another question that came up a lot last year was, why can't I enter answers to questions in the monitoring system? Well, actually, it's designed for OEC, the Office for Exceptional Children, to be the ones to be able to answer those questions. So you can upload documents within that system, but you can't type answers. ODE can communicate back to you about what they're seeing in those records. So don't panic if you can't type in there. As long as you can upload documents in the monitoring system, that's all you need to do. And so if you enter a comment about something in the monitoring system, or if the state support team enters a comment, ODE does not receive an alert. So the comment system right now, the way it's functioning is probably not the best way to communicate. A lot of times districts were uploading things and then entering a comment saying, I uploaded on this day, and ODE is not getting that comment. However, they're checking the monitoring system regularly and they do know when things are uploaded. So that comment shouldn't be necessary. And that's it, just a handful of helpful tips that we wanted to make sure that you knew this year to help things go as smoothly as possible. For the most part, state support teams are not directly involved in the document upload process. We're happy to help as much as we can, but your best bet is to contact Shauna Schramke. She is at the ODE Office for Exceptional Children, and her name is also listed in your special education profile for any of the Region 8 LEAs, except Akron. Akron has a different one. So any of the Region 8 LEAs can contact Shauna. She's extremely helpful. She will get back to you very quickly. And so anything related to document uploads, if you're stuck, if you're finding a problem, let Shauna know. Again, you're welcome to reach out to Region 8, but Shauna's your best bet. And the final thing we wanted to let you know is to be sure to save the date for January 12th, 2022. SST8 is going to do something very similar to what we did last year. We're going to have an information session about the indicator review process on January 12th from 9 to 10 a.m. We're going to go over the entire indicator review process and everything that is general to all of the indicators. So whatever findings you might have, anything that applies to everybody, we will cover from 9 to 10 a.m. And we will directly invite LEAs that have findings to these sessions. You will receive an invite through email. So you do not need to register. You will be contacted about this session. And we'll share information also about how you can access more specific information about your indicators as well. So the general information will be shared on January 12th from 9 to 10, and then we'll tell you about how you can receive more specific information as well. But you do definitely want to save the date for that because there are some changes to both the forms and the tools and the way that the process works, and we want to make sure that everybody knows about that. So thank you for joining us for this brief overview. Hopefully this was helpful. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to SST8 or to Shauna Schramke. Take care, everybody.